everyone, this is Kelly from The Truth in Story, and today is, I thought I had the paper, but this is actually not the right paper. Today is day, I don't know, 17 of 31 days of tarot. And today is Sunday, so today's been a very long day. But I did get all of my regular work is completed. I have put up on Instagram, I ordered, you know, Pizza Hut has a $10 like dinner that has like a little pizza and some breadsticks and some cinnamon sticks. And so I had ordered one of those. It was a 2-hour delivery time. I've never seen that before. I don't know if today is some kind of day that I don't realize it is. She is all wired up today. Isabel. Hey, look at me. Hey, come here. Come here. Somebody keeps coming in and out of the apartment and in and out of the apartment, and it's agitating her. She's not fond of strange men coming in and out of the apartment. Not my apartment, but like the building. And no strange men are not coming in and out of my apartment. Isabel would not let them. Let's see. So anyways, yeah, it was 2 hours, so I don't know. I know tomorrow is like a, I think it might be even a bank and postal holiday, Martin Luther King's birthday. But I don't know, like if there's like a big sports day today. I guess I should Google it, but I didn't. But regardless, Pizza Hut had a 2-hour wait, which was pretty crazy. It didn't take 2 hours, but it probably took a good hour. But anyways, I got it. It came just as I was finishing up work. And so I sent it off. I sat down and ate and watched some TV, did some dishes, la. And now I'm going to do a couple readings, just because, you know, today's a work day, so I figure I might as well capitalize on the work day so that tomorrow I could actually take off. So that's being my goal. So I'm not going to be, this is going to be a quick one because it's Sunday and my brain's tired from staring at the computer. I'm actually now, because I got up, I ate, you know, I watched some TV. Like I said, I did some dishes, just kind of, you know, moved around and cleaned things up and did all that. So I actually feel pretty good and ready to do some readings. I did some readings yesterday that were fantastically, that's always sounds, not saying that the readings were fantastic, but they felt fantastic and energetic. I love reading. I love that part of what I do. It makes me so happy. I actually did a couple Kipper card readings. For some reason, those have become a little more popular. They've sat for quite a long time on my Etsy shop. I think most people don't really know what Kipper cards are, but there has been a little bit of a surgence on Kipper readings, which is a lot of fun because, you know, I don't get to do those as much. I mean, I use them for myself and things because I like to do that traditional Kipper read, you know, where you turn the 3 cards over with the master cards. I really like to do that. So that was fun, and I even paired my Kipper with the Rackham Oracle, which actually works really lovely with the Fin de Sickle one. So I've done a couple like that. I have actually even, I guess we're just going to ramble for a minute before, we can't just go into it. I've actually used my Bohemian Gothic Tarot, which I'm so in love with, and I've actually used it for a couple, you know, tarot readings for clients. Both times I was slightly nervous about it, just, you know, okay, well, what if my Mr. Real Creepy Looking Demon friend showed up? You know, what... You know, would a person be able to see beyond that? But I had a pretty good feeling about both of them. And the one was, I think, a video, and I was like, you know, this is just a Gothic one. It's got a good sense, you know, so I kind of set it up. But both times they were really spot on readings and really resonated. They were very supportive. Like I said, it's got a very actually nurturing, I think, maybe not nurturing, but supportive. It has a very supportive energy to it with, like I said, it's a great sense of humor, but a deepness to it. It's a beautiful deck. I mean, I knew that I would like this deck because I, you know, how could I not? So I knew that I would like this deck, but I didn't know how much I would love it, and I didn't know how well it would read. So it does have a little bit of a bend. You know how some decks get these kind of the bow to it. I have a couple. The Vintage Wisdom has never really liked laid flat. That's one for sure. I have another one. I'm not seeing. Maybe that's not one of my tarot decks that are out at the moment, like in rotation. I know I have had decks like that, the bow, and actually my Rackham Oracle does the same thing. And both of these are, you know, good, supposed to be, and certainly feel to be very good cardstock. But they do have, I don't know if you can see that. I don't think you can. But there is a slight bow to them where you just kind of have to always kind of twist them back a little bit. I want to say my Fountain Tarot did a little bit, but not as much. So I don't know if, you know, spending a couple nights with like really heavy things on it will help that. I need to look up bowing. It doesn't bother me too much because the other deck, and I wish I could remember because it was one of my favorite decks that did it too. I started as I rifle shuffled to flipping it the other way and rifle shuffling it, you know, face up for a few, you know, just kind of randomly shuffling face up so that it was being bent in the other direction. And that did help to kind of counteract it a little bit, but I'm not sure. So if any of you have experience with bowed decks and like what you should do, or if it's just the nature of the beast and that's just the way it's going to be, it doesn't drive me nuts or anything. It's just one of those factors. Oh, the Earthbound Oracle is another one that never quite lays flat, and sometimes has sort of a real. It's like the Vintage Oracle where it has almost like it's not a bow this way, it's a corner to corner bow. It's like a weird corner bow. So I don't know, you know, what causes that. I mean, obviously it's cardstock, I would assume, but I have decks with far cheaper cardstock that don't do it, so I'm not entirely sure. So there we go. If you have any, now I'm just going to randomly shuffle all my decks that I touch. If you have any suggestions for that or knowledge about bowing decks, please feel free to share that with me. If there's anything I should be doing, or if I'm doing some. But don't bother if it is the fact that it's because I rifle shuffle, then I'll accept the bowing, because try shuffling this, anti-shuffling it, like shuffling it the other way on my Bohemian, because I won't stop rifle shuffling. I love that form of shuffling too much. It gets too good of a mix. So I will accept bowed decks if that means that I will rifle shuffle. So, but any other thing than that, if you have any suggestions. So, but I have loved how those have been reading. I've been doing a lot of reading with the Bohemian Gothic and the Rackham Oracle together. I really didn't think, you know, when I first got those, I didn't think, oh, those are going to be wonderful together. They just happened to come at the same time, so I was playing with them at the same time. But they actually read very well together. In fact, my last client from one that I used it with, I think yesterday, even said she really liked those decks, and that she, they worked really well together. So. Anyways, I'm rambling. The question for today is, do you ever use the major arcana without the minor arcana, or vice versa? And I think this question is connected to it, which is, do you read with major arcana only decks? Which makes sense, because that's kind of the question. Do you ever use the major arcana without the minor arcana? So that would be major only. Well, I guess that's two different questions. So one is, do you use, like, let's say my beautiful Bohemian Gothic, and take all of the minor, excuse me, separate the minor and the majors and use those separately? No. I'm trying to see. Now I've got a tickle in my throat and I'm going to cough again. Sorry. No. I don't think I ever have done that. I've seen spreads before where they have you separate them and use the major for this part and the minor for that part. I've not ever done those. It doesn't appeal to me. The same reason, this kind of goes the same answer to, do I use major only decks? I don't own any major art only decks. And it doesn't really appeal to me. With a qualification, but let me finish this question first. I believe that the 78 cards of tarot work as a beautiful system. Just like, you know, all of the I Ching hexagrams together work as a beautiful system. And so I think that to remove part of that system lessens the system. Now, it doesn't mean that I think that there aren't ways that you can use, because I do. Like I said, I have seen spreads where you remove the major, and there's things that you can do with those directly. There are things that you can do with just the minors and splitting up even this. I've seen where you split the suits up and then draw from each of those piles. So I know there's ways to separate those and use them by themselves that make sense, and people use them with great effect. For me personally, it just doesn't feel right. Now, it doesn't mean that I never will, but as of right now, I've looked at some of those spreads, and I've never felt right about removing cards from, like, I would never take the difficult cards out or anything like that, because they're some of my favorite cards in the deck, but I just feel like the part of the power of tarot is in its system, is in the way that it works as a unified whole, that we kind of need to be able to tap into all those aspects to really dig into a reading and have the appropriate things be able to come up. So for me, that's a no. Do I have problems with other people doing it? No, not at all. And some of the spreads look really cool, and I know that people use that to great effect. It's just me personally. And how you feel about something, I believe, as a tarot reader, so a lot of that has to do with, you know, the same thing with reversals. Like if seeing a card come upside down interrupts my flow, that's going to impact my reading. Knowing that I've taken a chunk out of a deck makes me to feel like it's not as effective, and so that's going to have an impact, I think, on how I read something. So, you know, some of that is very individualized, I guess, being my point. But the exception to the major only deck is there is a deck that I'm going to be getting either as my next month deck or the next month. It's coming up soon on one of my, I'm kind of spacing out my little bit more pricier decks, but that probably will be next month's deck. That it's an oracle deck, but it's based on the majors, as well as I think some extra cards, because it's not just it's not just the majors. There's a few other cards, but the system is based on using the energies from the majors, and then it's got some other cards that go with it, and I think a dice and some coin, flip coin and things like that. And it's kind of built a little system of itself. That's something I'm really interested in and certainly going to be trying, but and giving that one a go. So we'll see how that goes. But I don't own any majors only decks, which is kind of the second question. I see actually that tomorrow is about reversals. So I was actually going to do it today, but I don't know why I thought I would do that, because Sundays are too busy usually for me to do that, and today for sure with my other job. But so I may just kick that out tomorrow morning, because I was going to sit down today and do, a lot of people have asked me to do a video on how I see reversals, how I use reversals, different ways of using reversals, because I do, I have studied to use actual reversals, physical reversals. So I think that I will go ahead and do that tomorrow, and so that way I can put that out, on the day that the question is about reversals. So you can look forward to a separate video, not in this kind of vlogging format, but an actual video on reversals. That way, if it's referenced back, it's not kind of tied up with all the chit chat. So I will do that tomorrow. So there we go. We have planned for tomorrow. So I think that I've answered that. How do you guys feel about major only decks? I know they're pretty popular. I think that the reason that artists do them personally, I don't feel like that when you see major only decks, I don't really feel like those are done because people particularly think that it's a great thing to have a majors only deck. I just feel like that a deck takes a ton of work, and so, you know, making a commitment to make, you know, 22 cards versus making a commitment to make 78 cards, you know, that's a pretty those are pretty big difference in a commitment in terms of artistry and your time and that kind of thing, that when you get the majors done, you know, you can put that up, and it almost, I think, functions a little bit like an oracle deck that way. But I do feel like some of that's just to do with logistics and time and that it takes to make something. So that's kind of how I feel major-only decks are, because you don't really see those much. I'm not going to say never, because I'm sure there are some, but you don't really see those in mass publication. So that you usually see them in self-published decks, and so I feel like that is really much more about time. Again, time and commitment and money, even in producing the decks when you're self-published, versus somebody thinking, okay, this is the way these should be read. It's the best thing ever to read just with majors. That's just my opinion. So I'm sure that there will be many other people. I look forward to people's responses to this, because I do know that people do use them. So anyway, I started off on it again. I do that all the time, where I kind of end something and then I cycle back around. And that's part of the reasons why things ramble on. So let's see. We need to pull a card for the day, because it's already getting longer than I intended even to be. I'm going to go ahead and pull from the Earth Magic Oracle by Stephen Farmer. This is in my pile. You know, I'm kind of working through what decks that I'm going to probably be purging and or trading, you know, various things from my collection from last year. I have a couple that I'm really kind of playing with that, I don't know. It's, you know, it's hard, because I don't feel like I ever touch them. It's not that I dislike the decks, but I don't read with them, and that is kind of one of my mainstays in my collection, is that if I'm never ever going to be drawn to read with a deck, even if I like it, I don't know if that's something I really want to keep, because I do have to have something that keeps my collection in check, and that's kind of the one thing that does kind of keep it in check. But if I follow that rule, there's a couple decks that, like the Steampunk Tarot, I love that deck in theory, but I've just never read with it. I mean, I have read with it, but I have, and it was fine. They read fine, but it just never had that zing to it for me for reading with it. That one, but I love that deck. I really don't want to let it go, because I actually really love it, and it has, you know, the Fool, who is like Bert from Mary Poppins. So that one's a hard one. You know, if I really am being vicious with my rules, that one really should be let go of. The Green Witch probably should be let go of. That's one that's the one that I kind of regret buying. I knew that it wasn't going to be something I would be really drawn to, but I loved the concept of it so much, but I just don't see myself using it. So that's one that may be going into my trading pile. Crystal Visions is already in my pile to be purged. But those are the two tarot ones that I'm kind of like, I don't really want to, but so I haven't decided. That's one nice thing about gifts, though, because my gift decks, which are over here, I don't feel bad about keeping those even if I'm not going to use them, although I use quite a lot of them. Obviously, I'm still going through that big box of ones, like the Beautiful Creatures Tarot will be moving on for sure out of that. And a couple other ones that I just haven't gotten around to doing walkthroughs yet. But the Earth Magic Oracle deck is one I thought, you know, I'm going to take this one out. And because in my pile, I have sort of a pile started of ones that I'm probably going to let go of. And so it's in the pile. I got this at the same time that I got the Wisdom of Avalon Oracle from the Hay House sale on and free shipping on Cyber Monday. And so I really thought that I was going to love this deck, but for some reason it's not that it's not wonderful, because I actually quite like it, but it just kind of falls flat for me energetically. I don't know, you know, what causes that kind of thing. If you kind of like the looks and you like, you know, I'm not sure. I haven't done a walkthrough with it yet, so I am going to do that and then kind of see how I feel. Wait, did I do a walkthrough of this? You know, I already did a walkthrough of this. But even when I did the walkthrough, I think I had to kind of arrange things because I just wasn't quite connecting with it. But then after I did, I was like, okay, I'm starting to feel it. It's not ever really just snapped into feeling energetically. I don't, it's a beautiful deck, but I think I'll probably be moving it on. Even as I'm sitting here with it, shuffling and stuff, I just don't have that, I don't have a bad reaction to it. I just don't really have any. It's just kind of like, you know, and there's too many beautiful decks out there in the world to keep a deck that just goes, you know, just like, okay. Because somebody else is going to be like, oh my gosh, I love this deck, and I'd personally rather somebody have that than for it to just be sitting on my shelf with me feeling like meh about it. So I'm really rambling. It's like 20 minutes, and I thought this was going to be a 10-minute video. Okay, people, I'm bringing it around because I got readings to do with decks that do make me go zing. All right, so let's see. I mean, we have a beautiful card here. So we have Mountain. And it's for strength. I love that they used strength for this card, because mountains obviously can be obstacles, but mountains, you know, if you go somewhere where there's mountains and actually like are in that presence of a mountain, you know, there is such a sense of endurance, such a sense of timelessness, even of having seen season upon season upon season of storms and floods and snow and fire things, and they keep on, you know, that just keeps on. The enduring is just there. So there is, to me, such a beautiful deep strength, you know, like you can just feel like the roots of the mountain are deep as well, and it's just that, you know, the immovability of a mountain that does inspire a great deal of strength, and that we often need that because there's all different kinds of strength, and strength doesn't necessarily mean this kind of rooted strength, where I think this is that kind of strength that settles in and endures. And I really, I guess I just really resonate with that strength, because there are times in our lives when, I guess it's because you have that sense of them being unchangeable. Yes, the seasons change and things like that, but the basic mountain itself, you know, not the stuff that's growing on it, but the mountain itself really doesn't change. Yes, there's rock slides. I understand that there is changing and shifting in the ground. So I get that. But for the most part, like, the structure doesn't change. And so there is those times, and certainly have been large periods of times in my life where I have understood that things as they are, no matter how difficult and painful and difficult they are not going to change anytime soon. Like, it was one of, you know, we all have faced these times, but obviously I can only speak for myself. But for me, how I resonate with this card is that sense that there are times when we just have to endure. And I know this isn't endurance, this is strength, but this is, for me, this card resonates of strength, that endurance kind of strength, that kind of strength that does settle in and doesn't break and doesn't bend, because we can't change what's going on. What's going on may be difficult and hard, but it's not something we have the power to change. And that is a fact of life. There are times in which the big thing that causes you the biggest amount of pain and the biggest amount of fear and the biggest amount of all kinds of things is not something you can fix. And endurance becomes what you have to do. And I know some people will say, oh, that's not the case. You can always, but you can't always, you know, as you'll know, my son was sick his whole life. That was something I could not change. I did my best to manage it. I did my best to allow him the healthiest life that he could have. That, I tried to, work the hardest to get periods of normalcy to come. But the fact of the matter is I could not fix his health. I couldn't make it go away. There was nothing that I could do that hadn't been done or tried to fix that situation. And so for as long as that goes on, even till today, when he's still not here, that is something I cannot change, and I had to learn how to endure. Because when you have that base of endurance and in that strength of a mountain, it allows you then to have those, when you do have those periods where you can feel joy and love and all the stuff, you can actually feel those things because you've learned to endure. And so, I don't know. That's what I'm getting with this card, because it's a different, does that make sense to you? Like, this is a different kind of strength. That there are sometimes we just need to get through something that we know is going to pass. We know there's cycles, like the Wheel of Fortune. There's cycles. Things go up, things go down. Some things don't. Some things you just have to endure, and sometimes for a very long time. And that is its own kind of strength and its own kind of lesson that can be different than other kinds of strength and other kinds of, getting in there and manifesting your dream and manifesting, because we talk a lot about this, and I think that can be it's an empowering word, and I use it all the time. Manifesting is an empowering word, and so it's a fantastic word, but it can be a difficult word, much like hope can be a difficult word, in the sense that sometimes we can do everything that we should be doing in order to manifest our truth, manifest our world, affect our changes and become who we want to be and all these things. Sometimes we can do all the things that you could possibly do as a human being, and it's not going to change particularly something. It's going to change how you deal with it. It's going to change how you react to it, but it's not necessarily going to change a situation. And so a level of endurance through some difficult long-term things is a very key foundation to have, so that you can enjoy the seasons changing and the flowers coming up, and sometimes the storms that are extra bad that you have to endure, but then knowing that the spring is going to come, and the fall and the beautiful colors are going to change. And yes, we have to endure winter again, but the spring is going to come. We can live on the surface of that mountain, even as the bedrock of that unchangeable thing continues on, because we've learned to endure and still be able to enjoy the cycles of life outside of that. I don't know if that makes sense. I feel like I'm saying that very badly, but I think it's an important thing. It's probably something I'll chew on a little bit more and maybe do a separate video on, because I think it's really important, because I think that people can get caught up in hope and manifestation type things, and get caught into that idea of changing your destiny, changing your life, taking a hold of your life and making it all it can be, which is all fantastic things that I fully support, but I think that we have to be so careful, because there are some things that are outside of our control, just like the Tower card tells us. Some things are outside. Now in the Tower card, it's kind of a smashing thing, crashing, bang, and then we get up and we kind of build again, whereas this, to me, the mountain is a little bit different, because it isn't that instantaneous. Maybe when it hits us, at the moment when the doctor says, your son has X, Y, and Z, and he's never going to be normal. He's never going to live a normal life. He's probably not going to live very long. He's going to be very sick. There's going to be a lot of pain. There's going to be a lot of surgeries, feeding tubes, oxygen, all these kinds of things are going to be part of your life. That's the Tower moment. That's fast and brutal and everything, and then you start to build a life from there. But then there's that enduring thing that just says you're always going to have those issues that are always going to be there. That can be chronic illness. That can be a child with chronic illness. It can be your own chronic illness. It can be chronic pain that no matter what you do, that pain's always going to be there. Now, how you relate to it and how you let it affect you, you can affect that change, but that underlying thing may not ever be able to change. Blindness, or, there's so many different things that we may have to endure and learn how to still be able to live and have our best life on it, but we can't change that bedrock. And so I think that that's an important thing in this community or mindset of hope and manifestation, which are all fantastic, but we don't want to make somebody feel who can't completely, they can't manifest a change in their lives. I got that a lot in a Christian context. I know a little bit better because, I was raised that. But there's that same idea in the Christian world of, somebody getting on the faith healing radio or just on a Christian radio and say, hallelujah, Jesus healed my friend's son. He was so sick and he was dying, and the Lord, reached out his hand and touched him, and he is healed, and he is going to go on and live this wonderful life, praise Jesus kind of thing. And you're sitting there with your very, very sick child who at that moment may be dying, that this is over and over again, well, he's not going to make it through this weekend. And you might be sitting there, I have been sitting there thinking, okay, so why, that's wonderful. Obviously you're happy for a child being not sick anymore, but you're thinking, okay, so why not my son? What am I not doing that's not good enough? And that you can get into that culture of, you have to have enough faith. If you have enough faith, your son will be healed. Or if he had enough faith, he would be healed. That kind of mindset can be hard and very hurtful to people who are stuck in a situation in which they cannot faith their way out of it, because it's just the reality that some people's DNA is broken. Some people have cells and aspects in their body that are simply broken. They don't work correctly. And so we have to work within that paradigm, those cards that we've been given, so to speak, we have to work within it. And so I fear that sometime also with the whole mindset of manifestation, and go out there and, manifest your power, and manifest your world, and manifest your life, because I feel like that leaves some people who can only manifest so far, because there are some pretty big things that will never change, and so they have to learn to work with those. I just feel I don't want them to ever feel that they aren't doing something enough. They aren't enough. They aren't manifesting strong enough, or realizing their dreams enough to get themselves out of what could be chemical imbalances, for depressional challenges. It could be physical illnesses, DNA that doesn't work correctly, all those kinds of things. So I think we have to be so careful to acknowledge that some things we have to endure. So I just went off on a ginormous ramble, but some things we do have to dig and endure, and that is a strength, and that is something to learn, and that is a very important lesson to learn, because some things we just can't, how can I say it too many times, some things you just can't change, and so you have to change. You have to learn to endure, and then learn to live on the mountaintop even as you're enduring, so that you can get the most enjoyment and the most, a life that you can get while you're enduring some things that just can't change. Okay, I'm going to be done and let you go. And I wish you all a very lovely day, and I will see you tomorrow with another 31 Days of Tarot, as well as a video on reversals. Okay, bye.